Welcome to, or welcome back to, the Agatha May Detective Agency. I'm Agatha May, and for our Friday night story, we're going on an adventure with our favorite idiot, Reginald Wayne Miller. For those who don't know, Reggie is the father of the ever-dreadful John Paul Miller. It's been a while since we've talked about Reggie, but a viewer sent me an email that Reggie had written as part of a lawsuit that was filed against him in the matter of a vehicle accident. The accident happened on November 4th of 2015, and the lawsuit was in 2018. I thought we could all use a laugh about now, and Reggie definitely provides it. What a giver. His email is to the plaintiff's attorney, and it starts, Mr. Cook, I received your notice of a civil action filed on behalf of a Mr. James H. Brown. Oh, I don't think it was that James Brown. It is amazing how people have different memories. My remembrance of the accident in question is that in the midst of a terrible rainstorm, almost like a hurricane, I came up to a crossing at the location mentioned in your complaint. When the light turned green, I and the cars to my right lane proceeded through the light. All of a sudden, I saw a car turn towards me. I applied brakes, but in the storm, my car continued, and his car continued, until he hit me on my front left side as the cars to my right continued on through the light. The rainstorm was so bad that traffic just stopped for a while. Well, Reggie sure can weave a story, can't he? I applied brakes, but in the storm, my car continued and his car continued until he hit me is simply pure poetry. It seems like Reggie was in the magical land of make-believe where the cars were both continuing on through the light, but also stopping because of the storm that was almost a hurricane. He should have just thrown in there that there was also a tornado and a blizzard, just to make it seem extra believable. Reggie's letter continues. Having a defibrillator and a pacemaker, and having had many times shocks to bring me back, I felt like my defibrillator was getting ready to fire off. Also, to my shock, in the midst of the storm, I almost immediately saw the plaintiff jump out of his car and was running around taking pictures in the midst of the storm. For any of you that thinks that Reggie could be or could have been in any Facebook groups under an assumed name, like Betty Stewart, just look at the writing. If it's more intelligent than many times shocks, it's not Reggie. So his defibrillator almost shocked him, and the plaintiff taking photos in the midst of the Rain-a-Cane Blizzado shocked him. That must have been simply harrowing for poor Reggie. Reggie continues. Then when the police arrived, I was able to crack my window enough to talk to him, and he asked if I needed an ambulance, and I said yes. I waited for another while, and when the ambulance arrived, I thought it was for me. I then saw that they went to the car of the plaintiff and very carefully laid him on the stretcher. I thought, how in the world is there anything wrong with this man after he had been running around in the storm? The second ambulance came and I was put into the ambulance. You notice how Reggie conveniently leaves out if there was anything wrong with him? I mean, besides his head. The car I was driving belonged to my mother since I did not have a car and her insurance handled the case. Her car was totaled. As for me, maybe your client will want to reconsider his suit because of my health. I have had to retire from salaried ministry since the middle of 2014. Well, what do you know? Reggie had a little stay in prison on federal charges of visa fraud the same year he retired. What a crazy coincidence. And Reggie continues. My mother passed and her estate was settled last year, and I did not receive anything except a check of $10,000 that was for the church, and it was given and deposited with them. I live in a rented mobile home, own no car or property, receive about $450 a month Social Security, less than $200 SSI, Medicaid, and food stamps, and have been since 2015. I have on the average less than $100 in my account after I pay rent and utilities each month, and basically live off that and the charity of different ones who I pastored at times over the years. In other words, I have nothing. Well, I would like to know how Reggie lived on less than $650 a month and still managed to have close to $100 after he paid rent and utilities. Also, I don't believe that the check he received from his mother's estate went to any church unless it was Reggie's church. As a child, John Paul learned how to lie sitting at the feet of his father. And Reggie also wrote, "If your client wishes to proceed, I cannot hire a lawyer, but I have had lawyers in the past who I served as their pastor, and I may be able to get one to represent me pro bono. Of course, even if he gets a judgment, what good is it except money in your pocket for legal services? And I'm sure that if one of my attorney friends, like Tommy Bertain, were to take the case for me, since his dad also was a pastor, that on your client's end it would cost him a lot to go through all of that for nothing, except that is money in your pocket." Well, way to name drop, Reggie. I'll bet that scared the other attorney and James Brown into dropping their lawsuit. No, it didn't? Well, darn it, Reg, you tried. I also just love that Reggie thought that by telling the attorney that all a case would do was put money in his pocket would actually deter him from continuing with the case. One more thing, Reggie. Pro bona would mean that you're pro floor cleaner. Bona is a very good floor cleaner, but you're looking for pro bono, you nitwit. And Reggie ended his letter with, "I am 70 years this year, a retired minister, and my story has not changed since the accident. Also, your client settled with the insurance company." So Reggie is trying to use his age and his vocation to get him out of this mess. The truth of the story is that he ran a red light. The accident was his fault. And just for fun, I looked up the weather for the day of that accident, and the highest wind speed on that day was 13 miles an hour. Not exactly hurricane-force winds. Reggie failed to show up to court to answer this lawsuit, so there was a default judgment against him for $16,906.40. It looks like Reggie couldn't get any of his attorney friends to help him out pro floor cleaner. Reggie's story might not have changed since the accident, but that doesn't mean it's accurate or honest. Reggie settled the lawsuit, and it was shown paid in full by the end of the next month. They might have settled for less, but somehow Reggie managed to pull a chunk of change out of his backside and pay the settlement. Well, Reggie should teach money management courses, because it's pretty impressive that a completely broke, retired, almost 70-year-old that was barely surviving could come up with that kind of money in less than 2 months. Maybe Reggie dug around in his couch cushions and came up with the money. I'm sure he didn't get it by asking for donations or by somehow finding it in a shoebox under his bed or by any manner that wasn't completely above board. One thing that is great and also not great about Reggie is that he never changes. Thanks so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe as that helps my channel grow. Until next time, stay safe and be happy.